The Rothschilds destroyed Tartaria. Please, let me explain. Their timeline is exactly the same as the reset. Take a look at this. If you look at the Rothschilds timeline, it's the same as the Great Reset in 1776. Look at this, guys. It's uncanny. When the Rothschilds were becoming established, it's exactly the same time as when Tartaria was on their downfall and the reset was happening. Has anyone ever looked at this? It's obvious, guys. Again, in 1776, it's the same timeline as the Rothschilds timeline. When they were coming into power, it was the same time as the Great Reset, guys, and the mud floods. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Also, this is the Rothschilds' humble abode. Look at the etheric technology on the top. I think they were a Tartarian family, and they took over, and they knew exactly what was happening, so they made a new world order. Also, the Rothschilds are connected to the Oddfellows. The Oddfellows were in charge of all the orphanages through the reset, and the Cabbage Patch Kids. Bit weird, yeah? Also, the Rothschilds funded all the wars, and the wars were only there to destroy all of the old world architecture, guys. Ain't it really adding up now? Understand? And last but not least, the Rothschilds loaned £400,000 back in 1850s. Today, that would be 4.7 billion to the Catholic Church. Come on, guys. They took it from old world to new world, can't you see? And they also destroyed all of the world fairs.
The last major reset occurred between the mid-1700s and late 1800s, roughly 250 to 150 years ago. This reset wasn't just war or disease, it was a global memory wipe, infrastructure repopulation, and narrative overwrite. They used mud floods, fires, engineered natural disasters, and selective rewriting of history to wipe Tartaria and erase what came before. Now here's the strange part. The Capitol buildings, World's Fair structures, old world cathedrals, domed geometries, these were already here. We didn't build them, we inherited them. Photos from the 1800s show cities fully built, yet nearly empty. No scaffolding, no construction, just there. And the stories, always the same, built in a few years, then burned down. Now enter the orphan trains and Cabbage Patch Kids. Between 1854 and 1929, over 200,000 children were shipped across the U.S. by train. No parents, no background, just orphans. But where did all the orphans come from? They were reset survivors, children with no memory, no lineage, placed into repopulated cities to seed a new narrative. Why? Because adults remember. Children can be programmed. Cabbage Patch Kids, the dolls said to be grown in the Cabbage Patch, are symbolic disclosure. Born from the earth, no parents. Just like the orphan trains, the name is not innocent, it's encoded truth. The U.S. wasn't founded and built from scratch. It was inherited, cleansed, and rebranded. The buildings were Tartarian. The reset was intentional. And now the memory is coming back. Because people like you are asking the right questions.
So if the Earth rotates around the Sun once a year, and in that one rotation there are 365 little rotations, representing 1 day per little rotation, equating to 365 with one large rotation, and 365 divided by 28 is 13. So you mean to tell me that we could equally split a year into 13 equal months? And every month having 28 days. The beginning of the month starts on a Monday, the end of the month ends on a Sunday. And hold the phone, because you're telling me that September, sept meaning 7, is the 9th month. October, oct meaning 8, is the 10th month. November, nov meaning 9, is the 11th month. And December, this decagon is 10. But wait, what if the end of the year wasn't in December? What if January was actually the 11th month? Because December would be the 10th, November the 9th, October the 8th, and September the 7th. So January becomes the 11th, February the 12th, and March is the 13th, the last month of the year. And the beginning of the year would be the spring equinox, when everything begins to grow, renew, and life starts to flourish. Wouldn't it make more sense that would be the beginning of the year and not December? When I found out even our calendar had been manipulated, something inside me snapped. All this time, I thought I was living in order, but the system was built to keep us out of sync with nature, out of sync with truth.
Phoenix, Arizona was founded by multiple Freemasons, and soon after became home to other fraternal organizations. What's interesting about that is Phoenix sits on the 33rd parallel, which this red line represents. In previous videos, I've discussed all the anomalous events surrounding the Four Corners area, which is why I found this hotspot interesting on a ley line map. And the symbolism behind naming this city Phoenix is because the mythological phoenix represents rising from the ashes. And this land was once home to the Hohokam people, which is an ancient civilization said to have been around 300 BCE to 1400 CE. Their largest hub was called Snaketown, and now sits the Valley of the Sun, because the sun's east to west travel runs parallel to Phoenix's grid-like design. Back to the 33rd parallel, the Great Pyramids of Giza sit on the 33rd parallel, as well as Baghdad, Iraq, which is interesting because there's a Baghdad, Arizona, a mining town near the 33rd parallel. Not far from Phoenix are the Blythe geoglyphs, which sit on the 33rd parallel. Roswell crash site is on the 33rd parallel. How about the symbolism behind the first atom bomb? Because during the term of Harry Truman, the 33rd president, Trinity Testing Grounds was on the 33rd parallel, 210 miles south of Los Alamos, New Mexico. If that isn't crazy enough, both Nagasaki and Hiroshima were detonated on the 33rd parallel. Back to Phoenix, I'm sure most aren't aware of Hunt's tomb. Governor George P.W. Hunt entombed his wife in 1931, and then he was put in there in 1934.
Been hiding the true answer to this question from us. Why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? During the early 19th century, strange events were reported worldwide. Cities were being dug out from layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being revealed that were covered to their rooftops in mud. A global cataclysmic event buried entire civilizations, erasing them from history. But here is where it gets rather unsettling. The Tartarian Empire, an empire often depicted in old maps, was an advanced civilization that existed across Europe and Asia. They built architectural marvels, had access to advanced technology, and were able to harness energy from the atmos. The mud flood, many say, was a deliberate attempt to wipe out Tartaria from history, hiding their advanced technology and knowledge. But it gets even darker. Look at the world's fairs of the late 1800s and early 1900s. These elaborate buildings, resembling ancient architecture, were supposedly built in just a few years. After the fairs, they were supposedly demolished. Was this to erase evidence of an advanced pre-existing civilization? The Chicago World Fair in 1893, the Paris Exposition in 1900, and the St. Louis World Fair in 1904. These events showcased magnificent architecture, and on official papers they were apparently built with plaster and wood. Do these look like temporary structures to you? The sudden disappearance of these architectural marvels raises the question, were they remnants of the Tartarian Empire, conveniently disguised as temporary exhibits, and then